Hi, welcome back to the channel. This week we're going to create some Ajja style gated leads in Pigments. For those who aren't aware what that means, it's essentially randomly gating the pattern. So the first part of the video will be designing the actual sound within Pigments. I am during that stage going to use Cubase for the sequencing, but bear with me, once I have the sound absolutely nailed, then I'll move over and do the sequencing in Pigments at that stage. So without further ado, let's open up our trusty Pigments. We have that here. I'm going to put in some basic MIDI, as I said. Bear with me, this is just temporary, just while I design the sound. The track is in D sharp, so let's put this on D sharp, which is there. Usually around D minus 1, or D1, sorry. Put in some 16ths. I'm going to use the basic waveforms for this, specifically a saw, so let's turn it up. You can put it close enough, or you can turn off morph and it will lock it directly to that position. So here it's locking it to the square, the sine. It's essentially a quantize, if you like, for the wavetable. So we want it on saw like that. Let's turn off unison, we're not using that. Utility engine is off also. Let's turn off the effects just for now. And then we have this, just the standard saw, nothing special. Let's now turn on, it's already on multi-mode filter, which is a fantastic sounding filter. You might have heard me mention that in previous videos. Let's go with bandpass 24 for a start. Turn the cutoff down. Resonance up. With the pattern, it's currently playing straight 16ths, which is a bit too busy and also a bit too boring. Let's randomize that a bit in Cubase. I've just done a random gating and a random velocity on that, just with the hotkey that I have. That sounds okay for a start. Maybe we can duplicate that again. Let's go 4 bars. And then randomize that section. Nothing special at all yet. Let's now add a velocity because we have randomized that. Let's add that to cutoff. Let's see what bandpass 12 sounds like. Or 36. Let's keep it 36 for now. Now let's go over to our effects that we turned off. We can turn them on now. By default, if you've not changed it, you will have delay on FXA and reverb on FXA also. What I like to do is copy FX to B, so it's essentially moved it or copied it down here. Let's now do the same for the reverb and then delete them on A. You can save this as your default patch if you like, that might save a bit of time. Let's now turn the dry wet up on the reverb. Let's also make it 1/8 dotted. And then turn on ping pong. We can turn up the reverb a bit also. That's sounding quite good. Now on the last slot, let's add a multi-filter. And that's just going to be a high pass, just to cut off some of the lows. On aux, we also have another reverb. It's not doing anything because the send is at 0, but just to keep it clean, let's turn this off. And now with the kick and bass, we have this. So that sounds quite good. Definitely a usable sound in its own right. However, that was just the start of the video, like I said. I don't want to use the Cubase sequencer. So let's just loop this section here Or let's just move them across one. And then here, just loop this section. We can delete all of these and just put a straight note across. Change the velocity back to 100 because that was randomized. And now we have this, which will sound horrible. But now if we go into our sequencer, let's turn it on, obviously. We have our sequencer, you have arpeggiator or sequencer. Let's keep it on sequencer. Currently is set to 8 steps at a rate of 1/8. We can change it, we can speed it up a bit, 1/16. But you'll notice that it is playing every 16th and we want it randomized, just like we had before. Even though it was a controlled random before, we still want it randomized in terms of the velocity, the note length, and the probability of the gate triggering. So what we can do when we have this, we can adjust these parameters. So the first one, it is at 100% velocity. We can make the second one 25, 50, whatever. Let's just do random velocities. And this is going to impact the cutoff because we have that mapped. We can turn the probability down. We can turn the gate length down also. So this is a way to build in our own pattern similar to how we had it before. But if you want it truly random, then drag the number of steps, drag it back to 1. And if we play this back, we have straight 16ths. But then we go to this little random dial, turn this up. And you can see that this is being shaded out. I'll turn it down again. You can see that plus and minus is gradually shading out. So what that means is it will start here at 100, but then a randomized parameter plus and minus for this. So let's turn this down to the middle. You'll notice that the maximum is 127, which is standard MIDI CC. So the middle of that is what, 63.5. So let's go 64 or 63 because I can't get 64 in there. And now we have an equal chance of randomizing above or below. So let's turn this up to 50. But now we need to tell Pigments to randomize this value every time it plays back, so every 16th. So if we go up to Auto Regen, click on this, 1/16th. And you can see this little line now dancing around every time it plays on every 16th, which is then in turn randomizing the filter cutoff. Let's now do the same to the trigger probability. So we'll get some gating in there. So let's turn this also up to 50. Turn it down to 50 as well, or give or take around there. And now you can hear it's randomly gating the sequence every time it plays. It might be that the sequence is too sparse for your liking, in which case turn the randomization up. Or if you think it's too dense, then you need to turn it down. So let's put it back to 50, so that means that half the time it will play and half the time it won't. And then we can also do the same with note length. So let's turn this down to 0 or down to, let's say, 20% because we want it the minimum to be quite small, and then turn the gate length up. So there we have it, a randomized sequence within Pigments using only one step. If you wanted a fixed random, if you like, or if you wanted to program the randomization, if that makes sense, Then you can extend these steps out, then you can program each one of these steps to however you want the pattern. But for now, I just want it completely random, and then I'll record out and then cherry pick the best bits once I get a nice sequence going. So let's play back with kick and bass. The gate length, as you can hear, is the one that you need to be most sensitive about because it does make quite a big difference. And I don't really like the little tiny stuttering notes. You need to get that quite accurate. And then once you've done that, you can obviously go to town on the patch itself. So FM if you want, or a bit of wave folding. So there you go. Hope you found that useful, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.